So, my name's Artemis, and there's a lot of assumptions about people who like feet. A lot of them flying around, a lot of things that are just plain wrong. And a lot of different things that I feel like we can educate you on. And for people who do like feet, and I'm talking about, you know, the beans, the paws, but also the actual feet, the flesh. Oh, that's kind of cursed. I can just amputate myself. But the soles, the feet, the actual flesh side of it as well. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I thought I would do my public service by explaining some of the bullshit and how it is just pure bullshit and it's not real and can't be trusted. So let's get into that, if you're ready to. If you need a few more seconds to look at this, go for it. I also sell pictures of this, so you can just... There's whole pages dedicated to this. But anyway, let's get into the video. So I suppose the first and the biggest would be that we're not all creeps. There seems to be this huge stereotype that anybody who likes the human foot must be some dirty, perverted shoe thief who's going to inhale your foot scent for the rest of your days, and that's just not the fucking truth. Okay, Adam Sandler done did us dirty with Mr. Deeds and a bunch of other characters and a bunch of other things that have always just used like, they're into feet, they must be a freak, they must be a perv, they must be creepy, and that's just not the fucking truth, okay? Now, yeah, you gotta admit, some people are just creepy, but it's not liking feet that does that. And let's be really fucking honest. You compare the foot people to the bros that are lusting after tits and ass, and I mean, I know which one I'd rather be stuck in an elevator with, and it ain't the ones that are just like, oh, look at that fat ass, dude, look at them big badoink. I don't know how straight people talk, I'm sorry. But for real, I see and hear so much more perverted shit and just creepy fucking stuff from typical people, from just normal sexual people, than I ever do from foot people, okay? If anything, we are more fucking neurotic about it and keep that shit inside and try not to be creepy about it, or at least the ones that I know. Maybe I'm biased. Also, it's not all men. Again, I get that most fetishes and most, like, LGBT spaces are pretty overpopulated with guys compared to women, but women can have foot fetishes too, and they ain't creepy about it neither, so, like, stop fucking letting Adam Sandler put us in his goddamn movies, okay? He does not speak for us. That's the message I'm trying to put out there. Another thing people seem to get wrong about people who like feet, we need a better word for that because fetish is too sexual and not everybody likes it sexual. Hey, that's a thing. You can't assume anything because not everybody's the same. Some people like it sexually, some don't. I am in the camp that does not. But it goes beyond that. Everybody assumes that people who are into feet are into the same sorts of things. They like the sweat, the smell, sniffing shoes, socks, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe high heels, maybe being stepped on. That's just not the truth. There's actually a hell of a lot more that goes into it. There's a hell of a lot of things that people don't like. For instance, this all started because of a tweet I fucking made about how not everybody likes dirty feet. Myself is one of them. And that's a big part of it. There's a sort of divide in all of that. Not everybody is the same. There are many different levels to this. And I'm sure this happens with pretty much every kink and fetish out there. Everybody has different levels. Not everybody's coming to the same thing. But this one just seems to have that same general assumption following it around that if you're into this, you must be into loads of other things as well. I don't like shoes. I don't really care that much for socks. Smell and sweat. Get the fuck away from me. It's just how it goes. It's different. You can't assume shit, okay? Hell, there's even tops and bottoms to this shit. Are you the person who likes to touch the foot, or are you the foot that likes to be touched? It's a big thing, and you can't assume anything, and yet people always fucking do. Maybe not after this video, but probably, yeah. It is way more common than you would expect, okay? It is actually one of the top fetishes in the world, the top body parts that people lust after in the world. There are so many people that have it that you just would not expect. And I do believe that a lot of it is down to social stigma. Like, you know, a lot of people just typically think that, feet are disgusting. And if you grow up in that kind of environment, like I have, you end up with a lot of sort of internal conflict on whether or not this is a thing that you should be okay with. And people do generally try and put their assumption of like, oh, well, I personally don't like feet, and therefore I'm going to convince you that feet are disgusting. And you're there like, great, thanks for making me feel like shit, you fucking bitch. But it does have a role to play there, that there's more of it out there than you'd think. It's just not as obvious. In fact, there is even evidence that it is attached to some sort of biological thing. Like, you know, when there are rises in STDs throughout history, there's also a rise in foot fetish material appearing in pornographic magazines, which could say that maybe liking feet is some form of population control that evolution has kind of bred into us. When there are too many people out there, or there's too many diseases, well, make them like a foot instead. I mean, you can't catch the clap from toes. I mean, you can get athlete's foot, and you don't want that, but I don't know what point I was trying to make there, but it got to a really disgusting point. Let's just move on. Liking feet is not an exclusive interest either. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's not the only thing that people care about. It can be mixed in with a bunch of other things. Now, there are ranges to this interest. Sure, there are some people that are exclusively into feet and nothing else. I probably sort of approach that camp with the asexuality, because I don't like the sex, but I like feet. Like, it's a level that different people have on a scale. I'm probably more biased because of the asexuality, to be honest, but some people, it's just something that they include with everything else, and they're pretty, you know, average for the rest of it. Some people, it's more 50-50. There are different levels of sexual excitement, different levels of what exactly they do or do not like. It's not an exclusive thing, and it can actually mix with a bunch of other kinks as well. Feet mixes really well with bondage, which also mixes really well with, like, tickling and stuff like that. Worship is a whole other thing with the BDSM mindset of a dom and a sub situation. It's something that is, it's like a seasoning, you know? You can just sort of put it on everything, and it mixes in really well. It's a kind of weird analogy to make with a foot, but I don't know, someone's probably into that as well, let's be honest. I mean, it's varied. This one should be really fucking obvious, and I bet that it isn't. We're no different than anybody else. Like, it doesn't change a person because they like a foot. It doesn't. It doesn't mean that, you know, the people who like feet are just like this the whole time, just scouting out, for God's sake. Not as if, you know, people who like tits and ass aren't always keeping an eye out for that sort of thing. Now, obviously, whatever you like, your eye is going to go towards. So, yeah, that's a thing that happens. I mean, everybody checks out somebody in public now, don't they? And don't lie, don't say that you don't, you do. Everybody takes note of their surroundings. When you see something you like, whether that's a person, a foot, a boobie, or even a donut in a window, I know that fucking struggle. When you see something, you know, you typically just sort of zoom in on it. And so it's different. But people seem to think that when you like feet, it must change the sort of perception of what you are. You almost like you're not as trustworthy. I've had this response myself when I've, you know, had this come out, or I've told someone about it, and you can see them sort of try to reshift how they feel about you in their head. Like, oh, like, it's the subtle little things, but you can see them, you know, start to cross their legs and tuck their feet behind them. And I'm like, bitch, calm the fuck down, okay? You ain't that special. Shut the fuck up. But it kind of changes the perception. You're like, just liking this thing doesn't change anything, okay? It really doesn't. Like, you can accept that with other people when they like different things. I don't know why feet has this. Well, you know, I do. It's media representation. I've run his name through the mud a lot in this video, but I'll do it again. Fuck you, Adam Sandler. There are also a lot of different preferences. I'm sure most kinks, most people who are into bodies and sex also have preferences. The same thing happens with feet, because some people like long toes, some people like high arches, some people like short stubby toes and wide feet. You know, there's different fucking foot preferences that people actually like. And hell, I mean, I have a preference to, they gotta be clean, they gotta be soft, but I like the wider, the squishier, the cuter, the shorter toes, not the longer. Everybody has a preference with stuff like this, and I guess it's no different in the foot world either. But people just don't tend to assume. It's almost like any old foot will do, and it's not the truth at all. There are a lot of preferences that come into this, and that can change. And, you know, some of the things that I don't particularly like, long toes. Apparently, I have long-ish toes, and a lot of people like them. I'm like, didn't anticipate that. But hey, if it makes me money. But whatever. Everybody has a preference with this sort of thing, and it's not something that most people would really think of when it comes to this. Which sort of helps, because it's one of those things of like, you know, hey, I'm not into you because you're not my type, okay? Let me just see those. Yep, not my type. You can keep on walking. I don't care about you anymore. And that might help with some of the stigmas, let's be honest. Also, one of my favorite points is that it's not about you, okay? It's not about you, hun. I've had this in my life before. So when I was at school, the first thing that I learned about myself was that I was like, I was into tickling, and that was a thing that I enjoyed. And then that came out. I started, you know, being a kid who had no fucking idea how to communicate. I tried to confide in people I thought were friends, and he was a good friend. He was just, I don't know how you'd classify it. He was the kind of guy that, you know, when he hears an answer in his head to a question, he shouts it out. So when he shouted out that, oh, he likes tickling, he shouted that loud enough that everyone in the fucking school heard. And there was a guy in my class who legit thought that it was about him, that I was gay for him. And I had to take him aside and very painfully explain, no, honey, not this? This right here in front of me? Oh, bless. Oh, I'm sorry. No. And that's a hard thing to do about hurting someone's feelings, but hurt them I did. But whatever. It does come down to it. Sometimes I've had this when people learn I'm into feet and they're like, oh, well, I better keep my shoes on. I'm like, yeah, you probably should, because the fuck are those? And it comes to a point of fuck you for thinking that's literally the only reason I'm talking to you, but also, it kind of gives me the same energy as when straight people have gay friends. They're like, oh, I don't mind you being gay, just as long as you're not all in my face about it, you know, like, don't start flirting with me, alright, you ain't gonna turn me. I kind of get the same vibes, just like, oh, well, it's cool that you like feet, but leave my feet alone. Like, you know what I like more than feet? Consent. So if you don't consent, then you're not an option in my head. You can have the best feet in the fucking world, but if you don't consent, that's fine. They might as well not exist, because they don't to me. But it's not about you, honey. I'm not bringing this up. I'm not talking about this. This hasn't come out because I'm trying to make a move on you, okay? You wanted to know more about me. We were having a conversation, and I don't hide this shit, you know? And if I have to hear about people eating out asses and how much they like inserting various sized pieces of silicone into their body, then I don't think it's out of this world that I turn around and be like, I just like a foot rub. And I shouldn't be ostracized for that, for fuck's sake. But also, bold of some of you to assume, because your foot care routines, non-existent. Swear to God, you need to fix that shit, you cloven hoof bastards. God. And a final point I suppose I would like to bring into this is that it is not something that everybody has to engage with, but it's also something that when you do engage with it, you don't have to engage all the way. Now, because it has the word fetish, which is very sexual, and because it is, in some cases, it's like a replacement of like lewd stuff, it's easy to assume that, you know, oh, if I like show my feet around this person who likes feet, it's going to cross a line, and that's just not true. Take myself, for instance. I am a big fan of foot photography. I'm a big fan of just generally trying to take nice pictures and celebrating people whose feet are cute. They take care of them. They're not like mangled and gnarled and disgusting. And I find feet pics really cute. And it's a big deal to me that people trust me when they want to engage with that sort of thing and they join in. It really does make me feel like, oh, I'm not a freak. Thank you so much. Because we do feel like freaks a lot. And this is a way that people can engage with that when they don't particularly enjoy it themselves. There isn't beyond that. This right here, you see these lovely pictures I'm showing? This means the absolute world to me. This is an absolute peak thing that friends have done with me that has made me just feel so welcomed, so accepted, so just happy and warm and trusted, and it means the absolute world. And when you see someone who has an interest in feet and this is like the upper limit of what they want to do with feet, you think, huh, I was expecting, like, you know, tongues and bondage devices. And it's like, no, that's not for everybody, okay? Sometimes it's just a cute thing. Sometimes it's just an innocent thing. In fact, a lot of the times it's an innocent thing. And just because someone is interested in that thing doesn't rule out that it's impossible for them to give, you know, a platonic foot rub. It's impossible for them to just be a normal person and not react to that sort of shit. Because we're fucking people who understand the concepts of trust and consent. So, yeah. I don't know why it goes out the window just because, oh look, toes. It doesn't. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't just gratuitous feet pics, but hey, we had to slip some in there somehow, didn't we? Oh, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made some sort of sense. It seems like there is a lot of misinformation that goes on about the whole world of people liking feet, and as apparently a representation of that, I thought that I should probably do my bit, my public service, to correct some of that. Now, obviously, it's going to be circumstantial from person to person and foot to foot, but I feel like I've done a good representation here, or at least as I understand it. Who knows, I could be wrong. But thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this video and you're thinking, oh, I want to see more of those feet, guess what? There's a way to do it. I know I hid them again now, but you can go and see them. We sell those feet pics. Of course we do. You know we do. We also sell merch. We also have the Patreon. So there's multiple ways that you can help support us in our move to the US, which is imminently coming soon. So get it whilst you can, because it might have to close. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it educated you somewhat. And I guess you'll see me next week, won't you? Bye.